Back to the Future is a 1985 American science fiction film directed by Robert Zemeckis, with a screenplay by him and Bob Gale. It stars Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Lee Thompson, Crispin Glover, and Thomas F. Wilson. Set in 1985, the story follows Marty McFly, Fox, a teenager accidentally sent back to 1955 in a time-traveling DeLorean automobile built by his eccentric scientist friend Dr. Emmett "Doc" Brown, Lloyd. Trapped in the past, Marty inadvertently prevents his future parents' meeting, threatening his existence, and is forced to reconcile the pair and somehow get back to the future. Back to the Future was conceived of in 1980 by Gale and Zemeckis. They were desperate for a successful film after numerous collaborative failures, but their idea was rejected over 40 times by studios because it was not considered raunchy enough to compete with the successful comedies of the era. A development deal was secured following Zemeckis' success directing Romancing the Stone, 1984. Fox was the first choice to portray Marty, but he was unavailable. Eric Stoltz was cast instead. Shortly after principal photography began in November 1984, Zemeckis determined Stoltz was not right for the part and made the concessions necessary to hire Fox. This included re-filming scenes already shot with Stoltz and adding $4 million to the budget. Back to the Future was filmed in and around California and on sets at Universal Studios. Filming concluded the following April. Replacing Stoltz delayed production and the film's release date, but, following highly successful test screenings, the date was brought forward to July 3, 1985, to give Back to the Future more time in theaters. This resulted in a rushed post-production schedule and some incomplete special effects. Back to the Future was a critical and commercial success, earning $381.1 million to become the highest-grossing film of 1985 worldwide. Critics praised the story, comedy, and the cast, particularly Fox, Lloyd, Thompson, and Glover. It received multiple award nominations and won an Academy Award, Saturn Awards, and a Hugo Award. Its theme song, "The Power of Love" by Huey Lewis and the News, was a significant success globally. In the years since its release, Back to the Future has grown in esteem and is now considered to be among the greatest films of the 1980s, one of the best science fiction films ever made, and one of the greatest films of all time. In 2007, the United States Library of Congress selected the film for preservation in the National Film Registry. The film was followed by two sequels, Back to the Future Part 2, 1989, and Back to the Future Part 3, 1990. With its effect on popular culture and a dedicated fan following, Back to the Future launched a multimedia franchise. This includes an animated television series, video games, comic books, board games, clothing, music, books, food, toys, collectibles, and theme park rides. Its enduring popularity has led to numerous books about its production, documentaries, and commercials. Back to the Future has been adapted into a 2020 stage musical. Storyline. In 1985, Marty McFly is a typical teenager living in Hill Valley, California. Marty's meek father George is bullied by his supervisor, Biff Tannen. His mother Lorraine is a depressed alcoholic, and his older siblings are professional and social failures. Marty's band is rejected for a music contest. He confides in his girlfriend, Jennifer Parker, about fears of becoming like his parents despite his ambitions. That night, Marty meets his eccentric scientist friend Emmett "Doc" Brown in the Twin Pines Mall parking lot. Doc unveils a time machine built from a modified DeLorean, powered by plutonium he swindled from Libyan terrorists. Doc inputs a destination time of November 5, 1955, the day he first conceived his time travel invention. The terrorists arrive unexpectedly, opening fire and shooting Doc. Marty flees in the DeLorean, inadvertently activating time travel when he reaches 88 miles per hour, 142 kilometers per hour. Arriving in 1955, Marty discovers he has no plutonium to return. While exploring a burgeoning hill valley, Marty encounters his teenage father and discovers Biff has been bullying him since high school. George falls into the path of an oncoming car while spying on the teenage Lorraine, and Marty is knocked unconscious while saving him. He wakes to find himself tended to by Lorraine, who becomes infatuated with him. Marty tracks down a younger Doc and convinces him he is from the future, but Doc explains the only source available in 1955 capable of generating the power required for time travel is a lightning bolt. Marty shows Doc a flyer from the future that documents an upcoming lightning strike at the town's courthouse. As Marty's siblings begin to fade from a photo he is carrying with him, Doc realizes Marty's actions are altering the future and jeopardizing his existence. Lorraine was supposed to meet George instead of Marty after the car accident. Early attempts to get his parents acquainted fail, and Lorraine's infatuation with Marty deepens. Lorraine asks Marty to the school dance. He plots to feign inappropriate advances on Lorraine, allowing George to intervene and rescue her, but the plan goes awry when Biff's gang locks Marty in the trunk of the performing band's car, while Biff forces himself onto Lorraine. George arrives expecting to find Marty, but is assaulted by Biff. After Biff hurts Lorraine, an enraged George knocks him unconscious and escorts the grateful Lorraine to the dance. The band frees Marty from their car, but the lead guitarist injures his hand in the process. Marty takes his place and performs, while George and Lorraine share their first kiss. With his future no longer in jeopardy, Marty heads to the courthouse to meet Doc. Doc discovers a note from Marty warning him about his future and destroys it, worried about the consequences. To save Doc, Marty recalibrates the DeLorean to return 10 minutes before he left the future. The lightning strikes, sending Marty back to 1985, but the DeLorean breaks down, forcing Marty to run back to the mall. He arrives as Doc is being shot. While Marty grieves at his side, Doc sits up, revealing he pieced Marty's note back together and wore a bulletproof vest. He takes Marty home and departs to 2015 in the DeLorean. Marty wakes the next morning to discover his father is now a confident and successful science fiction author. His mother is fit and happy, his siblings are successful, and Biff is a servile valet in George's employ. As Marty reunites with Jennifer, Doc suddenly reappears in the DeLorean, insisting they return with him to the future to save their children from terrible fates. Did you know? The rights to the film and its sequels are owned by Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale. In a 2015 interview, Zemeckis maintained that no reboot or remake of the film would be authorized during his or Gale's lifetime. In 2010, during a cast reunion, Michael J. Fox said that strangers still call him McFly constantly. Fox said that the most remarkable instance was when he was in a remote jungle in the South Asian country Bhutan, located between China and India in the eastern Himalayas. A group of Buddhist monks passed him, and one of them looked at Fox and said, "Marty McFly." After the film's release, body kits were made for DeLoreans to make them look like the time machine. The inspiration for the film largely stems from Bob Gale discovering his father's high school yearbook and wondering whether he would have been friends with his father as a teenager. Gale also said that, if he had the chance to go back in time, he would really go back and see if they would have been friends. The DeLorean was deliberately selected for its general appearance and gull-wing doors in order to make it plausible that people in 1955 would presume it to be an alien spacecraft. See you later. Thanks for the subscription.